Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third episode and the final episode that I can think of right now on this series of if it were about the marks. So with track and field, I've been trying to answer the question of how do you qualify for the Olympics? And the answer was the World Athletic Ranking System. And then I tried to describe to you what the World Athletic Ranking System is. So if you haven't watch those before you watch this, because it might help fill in some gaps of the distinction of two big categories I'll be bringing up during this conversation. So this episode is all about the effects of the World Athletic Ranking System. It's too many words. It's about the effects of that on the Olympic athletes. Right, everyone wants to get qualified for the Olympics, but how? And how do you use this in your favor? So on this topic, I've already mentioned World Athletic System is a little biased, right? And this is the episode on the effects of the athletes selected for the Olympics. So starting with the 2024 Olympic athletes, I'm just showing you the list of who made it in. And our new question, how did they get here? Okay, so the Olympic standard had 14 athletes. The field size is 32, so we need 18 more athletes. So, taking a look at the World Athletic Rank. So this is their rank. So it's like the person who is ranked 15th had maybe 1,200 points, and the person ranked 30th had about, maybe I read that wrong, 1,250 points for 15th. Yeah. And then for 30th, they had approximately 1,200 points. So they're off by almost 50 points from 15th to 30th. And then up over here in the first spot, we've got an athlete that has a rank of a little over 1,450. So maybe 1,475, right? So what they are ranked on their athlete rank, their World Athletics ranking, is this. And so I'm just showing you what their points are so that way you can kind of see how far off they are from each other. But I need to also bring up how far off they are off of the heights they actually cleared during the same time frame or a similar time frame. And so the blue line up at the top is the same blue line as this one. But I've filled it in. I've adjusted it to be, instead of points, I've done its equivalent height instead. So this mark is the same equivalent as jumping a little over 225, whereas this mark over here is the equivalent of jumping near a 195. Right, so the same blue, just translated from World Athletic points to height. Now these other things going on down here, the light blue mark is their lowest mark on their World Athletics. Right, I said that there were 5 meets that all get added together, well not added, averaged together to get your World Athletic rank, in terms of points, right? So there's 5 meets there. The blue is the lowest of the top 5 marks, and the green, yeah, it's kind of more of a green color. That's actually the highest of the top 5 marks. So I'm trying to show you for each athlete, from the green to the blue, that's kind of the window of what they were actually jumping. And whenever it is you look at what they're actually jumping, this same trend line where it's very much like this starts to level off a little bit more. So there is a bit of an inflationary component as you get towards the top. But what I'm trying to say here is that their World Athletics ranking isn't exactly a true indicator of the height that they're actually clearing, because in my opinion, there's not that much difference between these people right here and these people right here. To me, they look almost the exact same. They're in the same area. So why is it that World Athletics can pull people to 5th and other people to 17th, although they have such similar things going on here? I wanted to show that the highest mark that they've jumped, right, so their World Athletics top list rank, so that is the highest mark they've achieved, and I wanted to show that in contrast to their World Athletic rank. So the blue line right here, that's a 1-to-1, so that has slope of 1, right? So 10 is 10, 5 is 5, right? So that's just the straight line. And that was my way of normalizing. So in the order of their World Athletic rank, what is the highest mark that they've achieved? So here we have some people who, let's see, on the bottom part, right, if you are what looks to be 3rd on the actual tops list, which means you rank 3rd in the actual height achieved, but yet you're actually ranked 10th on the World Athletics rank list, to me that seems like the World Athletic rank list has done you dirty, right? You are better than what you are ranked. So everyone below the line is better than what they're ranked, and everyone above the line is the exact opposite. Their rank is higher than what they're ranked at. So kind of building this idea, I was like, well, I want to get a better idea of what I'm dealing with. So instead of just worrying about the 32 that got into the Olympics, let's double check this concept, but with the top 100 athletes. So that's the list. I pulled it. I didn't really do much formatting, so it doesn't look pretty, but that is 100 athletes. And I've done the same thing of their World Athletic ranking list, their tops list, height that they've achieved. And I just wanted to show you this is what it looks like. Now, what I was trying to describe a moment ago is like below the line, you're ranked lower than your best mark. Above the line, you're ranked higher than your best mark. So this has a bit of one outlier right here, where this person is 400th on the tops list, but yet is in the top 100 on the World Athletic rank. I don't understand how. I double checked that several times over. That athlete apparently went to a lot of higher ranked meets and got a lot of points added to their score. So that is why it's a 400 and a 100 kind of marking. Actually, I think they're like 99th or something on the World Athletic ranking list at the time. So I got rid of that outlier just so we could actually see the data a little bit better. So I zoomed in and it looks like this. So you should see the same kind of pattern, but just to where we can see it a little bit more. And what I'm gathering from this is like, as you go from right to left, it's kind of like a funnel. It just grows. So residual is the idea of how far off you are of the line. So if the line is the blue, then the residuals grow as you go from right to left. So here we've got someone who's a little bit farther away, but that top line just kind of keeps growing. So now over here, we've got people that are this far away, right? We've got people this far away, but then over here they're only this far away. So as you look at the top 100 athletes, the residuals only get bigger and bigger. So this looks like a growing scatter plot. And if you know anything about math, this would be extremely easy to say there is no correlation between the tops list rank and the World Athletic rank. So it doesn't matter what you've actually cleared in terms of overall height. The tops list, who cares? We care about the World Athletics rank. So how did they get here? Well, it had to be something regarding their World Athletic ranking, right? The answer is still the same. World Athletic rank. How many times do we got to say this? So if it doesn't matter how high you've jumped, let's take a look at some of the athletes that didn't make it. So I selected these athletes out of the top 100 list for two different reasons, and it doesn't matter the names, in my opinion. It really doesn't. We are looking at some other things instead. So these athletes have been selected because of their World Athletic rank. So these first three are filling out the top 35 on the World Athletic ranking, right? So 22, 24, 25, that's all within the top 35 of the World Athletic Ranking. Now, the ones below that, they all have, 32 and 23? So that fills in the top 45 of the tops list ranking. And I want to look into why were these athletes not selected? And so I do have to outline a few things here, right? Like the question switches from how did they get here to how did they not? Like what prevented them from making it in the meet? And so without getting too political, the Belarus athletes were banned from competition. The IOC condemned the act at the time, saying the Olympic truce had been breached and forbid those athletes from competing. So the Belarus athletes are out. And then here, I felt so bad for her because like when I saw this at the time, because I'm like, why did she not make it? Well, I found these articles that basically said her country didn't select her. So the Maja, this is from the Ground News, and it says today Sweden's Olympic Committee selected 6 new track and field athletes for the Paris Olympics. High jumper, I don't know how to say her name, Maja Nilsson, however, will stay at home. I am sad and have always counted on Maja Nilsson being at the Olympics, says her coach, Yannick. Okay. I'm so sorry, I don't know names. So I also found this other one, the Swedish Herald, which says high jumper ends career just 24 years old. It does say that she has knee problems, right? I've had knee problems with my knee since 2021 and I've struggled with it since then. It has not become as good as I hoped it would become, and now the air has gone out of me a bit. Maja Nilsson had hoped to end her career with the Olympic Games in Paris, but was not selected and was critical of the unclear selection criteria. So I felt, again, so bad for her. Like, I can't believe that, her country just didn't want to send her. So looking at this list now, the Belarus athletes are highlighted in yellow. The Sweden is highlighted in yellow, but also Ukraine's athlete is highlighted in yellow, and that is because Ukraine already had 3 in the meet. So one of the other Olympic rules is maximum of 3 per country per event. So sorry, she's the 4th one, although she's ranked 22nd. She's not invited, basically. So we do have 5 athletes in the bunch that still, in my opinion, were exceptionally close. So I want to just include them in the data set with the Olympic athletes and see how they compare. So heading back over to that same graph I showed you last time, we've got the selected Olympic athletes. So this is the exact same graph you saw last time. But since we're including other athletes, we need to change the scales. So this is the exact same graph as before. It's just including more on the top and to the side, because now the bottom graph is going to have not only the selected Olympic athletes, but also those near miss athletes. So all 10 of those athletes that we just had. So you can see this gap right here, those 4 athletes or so, right? That gap is not there anymore. It's fine. And then over here, we've got the other blue dots, because we included these athletes because they had jumped really, really high, right? They had jumped in the top, I think it was 35 in the world, I think, as far as a top mark. And so the one thing I'm seeing is like, yeah, all of these athletes are relatively close to this blue line compared to all of these athletes over here, which are even more significantly off of that blue line. And what we were saying before, right, below, right, these orange dots are below. So that means they are ranked lower than their best mark. So their best mark is here, but they are ranked here. So this person is ranked 90th, but yet has a best mark that's equivalent to the top 30. So being 30th, but also 90th at the same time, I would say that's more than a little off. So what I did was I took the Olympic athletes. They are all the black named with white text. And then the near miss athletes are the white text with the black names, like the white background, black text. That is the near misses. So I put them, I believe, in the order of their world athletic rank. And what I'm trying to show here is that difference of where they're ranked and what they had for a top mark. So what they are ranked with their top mark versus what they are ranked on the World Athletic Ranking. So over here you can see that there's a lot of green, some red, but even the red, -14, -23, -25. But then you start looking over here and you see -22, -35, -27, -58. So I believe that the reason that these athletes did not make it into the meet, especially this group right here, the reasons that they weren't selected at all is because their World Athletic Ranking was so far off of what they actually achieved. So I'm hopeful that you can also see it too of this biased world ranking system and the effects that they have on the athletes selected for the Olympics. So I wanted to go through one other thing before we close out today. And I have to bring up this meet categorization from previously, right? Europe has 64% of the meets in the world that are on that calendar, right? So Europe is the dark green. And so I wanted to see, does that have an effect on the athletes? Well, this is, I don't know if you can see it exactly as I flip back and forth, but it's got similar percentages as the meet locations. So if you want to take a guess as to which one is the dark green, it's Europe. So Europe actually had 69% of the Olympic athletes plus those like near miss athletes. Oh, we got a visitor. So the other percentages seem to match the similar percentage of the where the meets were located. So I wanted to see, oh, right, this does not say world, it should. So this slide is on the world. So I separated it between the European athletes and the rest of the world, right? It seems like there's a bit of a distinction between those two categories. So I wanted to see that. And so from here, same idea. We've got the orange means, right, you're ranked lower than your best mark, and above the orange up here is that you're ranked higher than your best mark. So this is how high you've jumped, but you're actually ranked 15th, even though you've only jumped 32nd in the world. So I also looked at Europe. I don't know why that's like that. We'll delete that one. No? Maybe that was the one I meant. Maybe I didn't delete the other one. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so back to this topic. Europe. This one's Europe. So Europe had 11 that was ranked below, 1 that was equal, and 17 that was ranked above. And it's like, yes, numbers, thank you. Let me just yell random numbers at you. No, let's use that to make a chart so that way we can actually discuss what this really is, what this looks like. So how did they get here? How did they not get here? We have to figure out this. So in the world, right, world versus Olympic, right, they are distinct categories. So this is sans Europe. Okay, so we have 54% of the athletes in that group were ranked below what they actually achieved. Only 31% were above what they actually achieved. Now we take a look at Europe, and all of a sudden Europe had 59% of the people ranked above what they achieved, and only 38% that was ranked below what they achieved. So looking at these at the same slide, we see, well, if you're in the rest of the world, it's like, yeah, you only have a 31% chance of bettering your mark compared to what you actually achieved, versus in Europe, you have a 60% chance of being better than your mark. I'm not entirely sure, why World Athletics would have a bias for Europe or anything. Seems a little bit confusing as to why they like Europe so much. But if you want to be a successful athlete, if you want to be a successful track and field athlete, if you want to have a good World Athletics ranking, if you want to go to the Olympics, if you want to be selected for any meets that are higher than the college meet an hour down the street, then you need to compete in Europe. You need to go to Europe. You need to be in those meets. The United States just does not have enough opportunity for an athlete to better their ranking, as I've literally already described for like the last almost 2 hours. So I don't know why track and field is not about the marks, and I wish it were. So this concludes my series on If Only It Were About the Marks. All right, guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.